What's the saddest reason for a couple to break up? Welcome back to our channel where we're diving into the bittersweet and often heart-wrenching tales of relationships. Today, we're delving into a topic that tugs at the heartstrings. Love isn't always a fairy tale, and sometimes, the reasons behind a breakup can leave you feeling heavy-hearted. From the heartaches that stem from personal growth to the unexpected twists life throws our way, these stories shine a light on the most poignant, tear-jerking reasons couples part ways. So grab some tissues as we explore the profound, the poignant, and the deeply emotional stories shared by individuals reflecting on the saddest reasons behind the end of their relationships. Before we start with the first story, please hit a subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Number 15. When no one is to blame. A couple who's been together for a long time and breaks up because one of them simply no longer loves the other is a really sad situation. There was no betrayal, no conflict, no ill will, and one of them finds themselves in the awful situation of having to choose to leave someone they loved at one point and in all likelihood still care about a lot, while the other one is in the awful situation of being left by the person they love and who doesn't love them anymore for what feels like no reason. Number 14. One wants children and the other doesn't. This one happened to me. Not the saddest in absolute, but still pretty heartbreaking. After a relationship of 7 years have made us both grow as better persons because of the respect we had for each other and the will to help the other become a better version of themselves. And it's also why it lasted so long despite knowing in the last years together that we had this different vision for the future. It was inevitable, I guess, and we tried to transform our love in a deep friendship, but it's hard. Number 13. Severe or terminal illness. This could cause a breakup because the healthy party simply can't deal. But it can also happen as a way to protect assets from being absorbed into the medical complex. Put all assets in the healthy person's name in divorce, so there's nothing to collect when the other gets 7-figure medical bills. Both are sad, but in very different ways. Number 12. Right person, wrong time. I have to say, I have mostly heard this phrase from younger people. I myself probably would have agreed when I was in college. I had never experienced things like trying to maintain a relationship while focusing on a career, doing long distance, living together, and trying to integrate our lifestyles and finances, navigating mental health issues, family issues, partners with different sex drives, having conflicting views on having kids, etc. There are a ton of practical, functional elements that go into building a healthy relationship, and you can be head over heels in love with someone, but not be able to make the rest work. Sometimes it's a fundamental issue that is irreparable. Sometimes it's just life circumstances at the time, but either way, you can be in love with someone that you're not compatible with. Number 11. I remember a post on Reddit about a couple who were together for decades but were divorcing due to one having cancer, and if they didn't, they would be both bankrupt from it. If they are married, the surviving spouse takes on the medical debt. If they are divorced, the debt dies with the patient. My fiancé's mom had 2 bouts of cancer and was in remission for 13 years before she passed away from the second one. She's been gone for 10 years and her husband just finished paying off her debt. It absolutely obliterated his savings account, and he could easily have retired by now if he hasn't had this debt. My grandfather's fiancé had cancer for 4 years before she passed away last month. They'd been together for about 10 years and got engaged 3 years ago, but because they never got married, he did not get her bills. Number 10. I have a guy friend who for years we circled each other, but were always in a relationship when the other was single. There was always a spark there, and we met each other at a really hard time for us both and were very much not looking. He had lost his high school sweetheart fiance to a DUI accident, and I had a 3-month-old and was trying to leave an abusive relationship. We both ended up staying at the same mutual friend's house for about 3 months. We spent countless hours just sitting next to each other on the couch watching trashy reality TV, cause it was all the mental capacity either of us had. We didn't want to talk about what we were going through, cause everyone was always asking us how we were. I unfortunately ended up going back to my abuser like many young moms do, and my ex hated him and was convinced I'd been sleeping with him while staying at the friend's home. When I finally left my son's father, nearly a year later he'd moved on and was dating a very sweet girl, and I was rebuilding my life. This cycle has now been going on for 15 years, but we both silently agreed our time and chance has passed. He's been married and divorced in that time, and I've learned I don't really enjoy being in a relationship and much prefer to finish raising my son on my own. He's 15, and we've done this journey together this far, that bringing someone in now would be hard on our dynamic. But I will always think of him as the one that could have been in another life. Number 9. Yep, there right now. It's harder than the most traumatic moments of my life. I think it's because with trauma there's a clear route to a better life. But here, there's nothing more I could have done. The only thing that I feel I can do is to try to practice a greater level of personal acceptance that I wasn't the problem and that she just didn't have room for me in her life. Warning: vent/emotional processing inbound. To be honest, whilst I could hypothesize this or that, I really just don't know where it all went wrong. I always put her first. I was always honest and open with her. I did my best to keep our relationship exciting. I gave her the best parts of myself, but it wasn't good enough for her, I guess. She just quietly gave up on me. She never told me what bothered her or when she was upset, even when I asked her, and she would bottle everything up. I guess she wasn't as comfortable with me as I thought, even after 16 months together. In the end, I had to be the one to cut her off because she didn't want to cut me off, despite not even wanting to speak or hear from me. I would have moved heaven and hell to make things work with her, to make her happy. But she never gave me the chance. The only time she ever opened up about what she was unhappy about was when she'd already grieved me in the relationship. She didn't give me a chance. All I would have needed was a chance. But I accept, now, that no matter how much I may love someone, and no matter how much they claim to love me, I cannot be with someone who is woefully incapable of communicating. All it would have taken for us to have lived, most likely, a very happy and long-lasting relationship was a little bit of communication, because there was honestly very, very little wrong with our relationship. Her final complaints of me were that I interrupted her and scoffed, sometimes in ways that upset her, which I had no idea I was doing to begin with, that and that I was kinda skinny. If she mentioned them even once, I would have gone on a whole vocal training expedition to right the wrongs of my speech. Because I loved her more than the stars at night. But it's not possible to have a relationship with someone incapable of talking to you. I still love her, and my heart hurts every day thinking about her, and whilst my door is open to her, hers is firmly shut in my face, and that's one of the harder feelings to deal with. I want her to come back. I want her to realize that we had something special and that those complaints of hers, I've spent the last couple of months ironing out, alongside a big change physically, hitting the gym and eating about 3x as much as I did before. I tried telling myself I'm not doing it for her, especially as they were plans of mine own beforehand, but it kind of feels a bit different now, and I can't help but feel a bit weird and torn about it all. Either way, I'm doing my best to forgive her for throwing it all away, but it's a struggle, and I pray that every day she might give us that chance to be happy again, because it only ever was a stone's throw away. I'm trying not to hold on, but it's fresh, so I'm giving myself a pass for the moment, haha. Anyway, mental rant I know, but if I had to get it off my chest. Cheers if anyone reads this. Number 8. One of the saddest reasons for a couple to break up is the loss of trust. Trust is fundamental to a healthy relationship, and if it's broken due to betrayal, dishonesty, or other issues, it can be incredibly difficult to rebuild. I was with this girl for 3 years. We were engaged and we had our ups and downs, nothing serious. One day she traveled to work in another city. We usually talk about what we're doing during the days to keep each other feeling somewhat connected during this time apart. One day I found out she lied about what she was doing and where she went, and you know the usual, I just arrived home safe, etc. because of a slip-up from her, and on top of that she tried to lie and manipulate her proof that she wasn't lying. I just can't do lying. It hurt me so bad to break up with her, but I lost my trust in her. If she can't be honest with me about these simple things, what else can she make up, especially being in another city thousands of miles away? She offered from that point to share her live location, but I don't feel like that an appropriate thing. I want to trust her words, not check if she's telling the truth or not. I still kind of feel like an asshole, and that I miss her sometimes. Number 7. Logistics. I had a career opportunity in my home state I could not pass up. Was head over heels for my GF at the time. She was too, it would seem. But she was a West Coast girl, born and bred. Her entire life was out there. I am from Texas, and Calif was always going to be a 2 to 3 years temporary place for me. I wanted to experience it. And she didn't do well with hot weather, so I took the job and came back. That last night with her was brutal. We tried long distance for a few months, but it's pricey flying between SFO and DFW regularly. So we eventually called it off. Probably the saddest, most friendly breakup I've ever known. Number 6. A friend of my mom divorced her husband after he had a brain injury, not sure if it was a stroke or aneurysm. But he was basically like a toddler and had no capacity to be a husband or father. She stayed in his life, though, and made sure that her and her second husband still cared for him and made sure that he was still a part of their children's lives. I know it's not as tragic as the death of a child, but still very have to go through. Number 5. Murder/suicide. Happened to some good friends of mine. Apparently, they had a fight and a gun got involved. He had a teenage daughter, too. It totally came out of left field. No history of violence that I know of. I still feel the pain in the pit of my stomach. Number 4. They have a severely disabled child and one of them can't handle the stress and workload of dealing with that anymore, so they leave and abandon the other parent to struggle raising the disabled child alone. Number 3. One puts all the effort and the other does the bare minimum. The first person gets tired, but the other part does not see the problem, even when you tell them what is wrong. And then, when you give them the ultimatum, everything changes, but not because they're worried about you, but because you won't be there to give them the world while you only get crumbs. I would say it's sad for both parties. One does not feel loved and wants to leave. The other does not see what's wrong and wants to stay. I'm the one who puts all the effort, so I can confirm from experience. Things haven't changed, and all the excitement and love I once felt is long gone. I feel empty. But my partner thinks that we will get through this together and love will bloom again. In conclusion, I believe it's sad for both parties, but for different reasons. Number 2. I had a friend who dated a nice girl for several years. When his family heard that he was planning to propose, he got a visit from an aunt who suggested that they should have DNA testing done because she believed that they were biologically related. Turns out, they were half-siblings. I don't know what happened with her, but it ruined his life. He moved away and got into drugs. Haven't heard from him in about 10 years. Number 1. Death of their child. Grief that is really, really deep. You see your child in your spouse's face, so in certain ways just being in their presence is hurting your ability to move on. Almost like it's impossible to see your spouse and be happy. For some, there is no moving on from that loss without just leaving the remnants of the family behind. Also, many couples get divorced shortly after their children become adults and move out, even if their marriage is dead for years before that happens. So a marriage that would have ended that way will abruptly end if that child is suddenly gone. Thanks for hanging out with us while we took a deep dive into the world of relationships. These stories hit home, right in the feels. If any of these tales struck a chord with you, or if you've got your own breakup stories, spill the beans down in the comments. We're all ears. And hey, if you vibe with this video, show us some love by smashing that like button and joining the squad by hitting subscribe. Until next time, keep your heart strong and your spirits high. Catch you in the next video.